What if I told you that one of the most famous plays in NFL history might have been illegal? Or that a single phone call from the league office may have changed the course of an entire franchise? For decades, NFL fans have debated conspiracy theories, questioned suspicious calls, and wondered if what they're watching is always on the level. Some of these stories are pure fiction. Others, they might be closer to the truth than the league wants you to believe. Let's dive into 1 hour of the most controversial myths, rumors, and stories that NFL fans still can't agree on. We're starting with the big one, the Tuck Rule. January 19th, 2002. Snow's falling hard at Foxborough Stadium, and the Patriots are trailing the Raiders 13-10 late in the fourth quarter. Tom Brady, still just a backup who got lucky, drops back to pass with under 2 minutes left. Charles Woodson hits him from behind. The ball comes loose. Oakland recovers. Game over, right? Wrong. After what felt like an eternity under the hood, referee Walt Coleman emerges with a call that nobody saw coming. He cites an obscure rule that almost nobody had ever heard of, the Tuck Rule. According to this bizarre clause in the rulebook, if a quarterback's arm is moving forward, even if he's clearly trying to pull the ball back, it's still an incomplete pass, not a fumble. The Patriots keep the ball, tie the game, win in overtime, and go on to win the Super Bowl. That moment didn't just save one game. It launched a dynasty that would dominate football for 2 decades. Here's where it gets interesting. The Tuck Rule had existed since 1999, but nobody really knew about it. Some officials didn't even understand it properly. Raiders fans to this day will tell you the call was fixed. They'll point out that Brady fumbled the ball, plain and simple. The rule itself was so unpopular that the NFL eventually eliminated it in 2013, basically admitting it was nonsense. But by then, the damage was done. The Patriots had 6 Super Bowls. Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback ever. And the Raiders, they were left wondering what could have been. Was it the right call according to the rulebook? Technically, yes. Was it the right call for the game of football? That's where fans will never agree. But wait, because that's not the only controversial call that changed NFL history. Let's talk about Dez Bryant. Did he catch it? December 2014, divisional playoff round. Cowboys versus Packers. Dallas is down 4 points late in the fourth quarter. Tony Romo throws a perfect pass to Dez Bryant on 4th and 2. Bryant leaps, stretches out, catches the ball, reaches toward the goal line, and the ball comes loose as he hits the ground. The refs initially call it a catch. The crowd goes wild. Then comes the review. After several minutes, the call is reversed. Incomplete pass. Game over. Cowboys season over. The reason? The infamous process of the catch rule, which stated that a receiver going to the ground must maintain control throughout the entire process, including after hitting the ground. Dez caught the ball, took 3 steps, reached for the end zone, and still didn't complete the process. It made no sense to anyone watching, including Hall of Fame receivers who swore it was a catch. The rule was so confusing that even NFL officials admitted they struggled to apply it consistently. Some games, that's called a catch. Other games, it's not. The league eventually rewrote the catch rule, making it simpler, but it was too late for Dallas. Dez Bryant's career was never the same. The Cowboys didn't make it back to that point for years. And Packers fans, they'll defend the call till they die, even though deep down, most of them know it looked like a catch. This is the NFL in a nutshell. One play, one interpretation, one call changes everything. Now, speaking of controversial calls, we need to talk about the Fail Mary. September 24th, 2012. Monday Night Football. Seahawks hosting the Packers. This game took place during the replacement referee fiasco, when the NFL locked out its regular officials over a contract dispute and brought in refs from lower levels of football who were clearly not ready for the big stage. The game was chaotic from the start. Flags everywhere. Confusion on basic calls. Then came the final play. Russell Wilson heaves a Hail Mary into the end zone. Packers safety MD Jennings clearly intercepts the ball, but Seahawks receiver Golden Tate is also there, and one replacement ref signals touchdown while another signals interception. After a review, they somehow rule it a touchdown. Seahawks win. The world loses its mind. Here's the thing. The real refs would have never made that call. Everyone watching knew it was an interception. Even Seahawks fans, if they're being honest, will admit they got away with one. But the league stood by the call, probably because overturning it would have been admitting their replacement refs were incompetent, which everybody already knew. The controversy was so massive that it forced the NFL to settle with the regular refs within days, ending the lockout. So yeah, the Hail Mary might have been the worst call in NFL history, but it also fixed the referee situation. Was it worth it? Depends on who you ask. Let's keep going with bad calls because there's plenty more where that came from. Bottlegate, December 16th, 2001. Cleveland Browns hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Browns haven't had much to cheer about since returning to the NFL in 1999, but they're in this game, down by 3 with under a minute left. Quarterback Tim Couch completes a pass to Quincy Morgan on 4th down. First down, Browns ball, chance to win. Except the refs rule it incomplete. The Browns challenge. The play is reviewed and confirmed as incomplete. Fans are furious, but the game continues. Then, inexplicably, the officials reverse the call again, saying it was actually a catch. But since the next play had already started, they can't go back. The ruling stands as incomplete. That's when all hell breaks loose. Browns fans start throwing bottles onto the field. Thousands of them. Plastic bottles, beer bottles, anything they can find. The refs have to leave the field. It's absolute chaos. The game is delayed for nearly 30 minutes while they clean up the debris. The NFL later admitted the officials botched the entire sequence and fined the Browns organization, even though it was the refs' fault. Cleveland fans still talk about Bottlegate as one of the most embarrassing moments in franchise history, not because of the fan behavior, but because it perfectly captured how cursed the Browns have been. Bad calls, bad luck, bad everything. And that game? It wasn't even close to the worst call that's happened to Cleveland. Before we move on from officiating disasters, we have to talk about the Saints getting robbed. NFC Championship, January 2019. Saints hosting the Rams in the Superdome. New Orleans is up 3 points late in the fourth quarter, driving for a score that would basically end the game. Drew Brees throws a pass to Tommy Lee Lewis, and Rams cornerback Nickel Roby Coleman absolutely destroys him before the ball arrives. It's the most obvious pass interference call you'll ever see. Helmet-to-helmet contact, early hit, defenseless receiver. Every Saints fan in the building is waiting for the flag. It never comes. No flag, no call, nothing. The Saints have to settle for a field goal, the Rams get the ball back, tie the game, and win in overtime. New Orleans is eliminated, and the refs blow the biggest call of the season on the biggest stage. The NFL later admitted the officials missed the call, which is cold comfort when your Super Bowl hopes are gone. The controversy was so massive that it led to a rule change allowing pass interference to be reviewed. That rule lasted one season before the league quietly killed it because refs refused to overturn their colleagues' calls. So what did the Saints get out of being robbed? Nothing. Some people think the NFL wanted the Rams in the Super Bowl because they were about to move into a billion-dollar stadium in LA and needed the storyline. Others say it was just a blown call, nothing more. Either way, Saints fans will never let it go. And honestly, they shouldn't. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that'll make Raiders fans even angrier. The Holy Roller, September 10th, 1978. Raiders trailing the Chargers 20-14 with 10 seconds left and no timeouts. They're 14 yards from the end zone, and they need a miracle. Ken Stabler drops back, and just as he's about to be sacked, he fumbles the ball forward, intentionally. Running back Pete Banaszak tries to recover it, but he bats it forward instead. Then tight end Dave Casper swats it again before finally falling on it in the end zone. Touchdown. Raiders win. Except, years later, both Stabler and Banazic admitted they did it on purpose. They fumbled the ball forward intentionally, knowing there was no rule against it. The Chargers were furious. The league was embarrassed. And within months, the NFL created a new rule. In the final 2 minutes of a half or on fourth down, only the player who fumbles can advance the ball. If a teammate touches it, the ball goes back to the spot of the fumble. The Holy Roller is one of the most controversial plays in NFL history because it exposed a loophole in the rules that teams could exploit. Raiders fans will tell you it was genius. Chargers fans will tell you it was cheating. The truth? It was both. The Raiders found a way to win that the rulebook didn't account for, and the league had to change the rules because of it. That's the Raiders in a nutshell. Just win. Baby, even if you have to bend the rules to do it. But here's where things get really wild. Let's talk about draft conspiracies. Did the Colts tank for Andrew Luck? The 2011 season was supposed to be business as usual for the Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning, the franchise quarterback, was coming off another great year. Expectations were high. Then, right before the season started, Manning had neck surgery, a serious one, and suddenly, the Colts were without their star. What followed was one of the worst seasons in recent NFL history. The Colts went 2-14, losing games in ways that seemed almost intentional. They benched veteran quarterbacks who were competent and played guys who had no business starting. They made baffling coaching decisions. They looked like a team trying to lose. And conveniently, the number one pick in the 2012 draft was Andrew Luck, the most hyped quarterback prospect since Manning himself. Colts fans will swear up and down that they didn't tank, that injuries and bad luck destroyed their season. But the rest of the league wasn't buying it. The phrase "suck for luck" became a national joke. Even some analysts openly questioned whether the Colts were purposely losing to secure the pick. The evidence? Week after week, the Colts found ways to lose close games. They'd be competitive for 3 quarters, then collapse in the fourth. It happened so often that it felt scripted. And when they did win, it was against other terrible teams, keeping them in the race for the worst record. In the end, they got Luck, and he turned the franchise around immediately, making the playoffs in his first 3 seasons. Mission accomplished, right? The Colts claim it was all coincidence, but to this day, plenty of people believe Indianapolis orchestrated one of the most successful tank jobs in NFL history. Speaking of the draft, let's talk about Eli Manning's refusal to play for the Chargers. 2004 NFL Draft. The San Diego Chargers have the number 1 pick, and everyone knows they're taking Eli Manning, the top quarterback in the class. But there's a problem. Eli doesn't want to play for San Diego. In the weeks leading up to the draft, Eli and his father, Archie Manning, made it clear he wouldn't sign with the Chargers. They cited concerns about the organization, the city, and the team's inability to build a winner. Draft day arrives, and the Chargers pick Eli anyway, thinking they can change his mind. They couldn't. Eli refused to sign. So the Chargers traded him to the New York Giants for Phillip Rivers, the 4th overall pick, plus additional picks. Both quarterbacks went on to have great careers, but here's where it gets interesting. Some people think the entire thing was orchestrated behind the scenes, that the Giants and Chargers had already agreed to the trade before the draft, and the whole Eli refuses to play for San Diego storyline was just theater to justify the deal. Others believe Archie Manning used his influence to steer his son to a big market team, robbing the Chargers of their franchise quarterback. Chargers fans are still bitter about it, especially because Eli won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, while Rivers never got a ring. Was it a conspiracy? Probably not, but it was definitely shady, and it set a precedent that top picks could force their way out if they didn't like their destination. Now, here's a conspiracy theory that sounds insane, but has more evidence than you'd think. Did the NFL script the Saints' Super Bowl run after Hurricane Katrina? In 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans. The city was underwater, the Superdome was damaged, and the Saints had to play their home games in different cities. It was one of the darkest moments in American history, and New Orleans needed something to rally around. Fast forward to 2009. The Saints, who had been one of the league's worst franchises for decades, suddenly have the best team in football. Drew Brees is playing at an MVP level, the defense is elite, and they're winning games in dramatic fashion. They finish 13-3, dominate the playoffs, and win Super Bowl 44, giving New Orleans its first championship ever. It was the perfect story. Too perfect, some would say. Here's why people think it was rigged. The Saints' Super Bowl run came at the perfect time for the NFL's narrative. The league loves feel-good stories, and there's nothing more feel-good than a city rebuilding through football. Throughout the playoffs, the Saints got favorable calls, questionable penalties went their way, and they seemed to get every bounce. The Super Bowl itself featured a gutsy onside kick to start the second half, a play that felt like it came straight out of a movie script. And then there's Roger Goodell handing the Lombardi Trophy to a team from a city the league had considered relocating just a few years earlier. Coincidence? Maybe. But the timing was so perfect that conspiracy theorists have had a field day with it ever since. The Saints and their fans will tell you they earned it fair and square, and honestly, they probably did. But the narrative was so clean, so Hollywood, that it's hard not to wonder if the league gave them a little extra help along the way. While we're talking about the league manipulating outcomes, let's discuss Bountygate. In 2012, the NFL dropped a bombshell. An investigation revealed that the New Orleans Saints had been running a bounty program from 2009 to 2011, paying defensive players cash rewards for injuring opponents. Hits that knocked quarterbacks out of games were worth the most. The program was allegedly run by defensive coordinator Greg Williams, with the knowledge of head coach Sean Payton and several players. The NFL came down hard. Payton was suspended for the entire 2012 season, the first time a head coach had been banned in modern history. Williams was suspended indefinitely. GM Mickey Loomis got 8 games. Players, including linebacker Jonathan Vilma, were hit with suspensions too, though most were later reduced or overturned. But here's the thing. How much of Bountygate was real, and how much was the NFL making an example? The evidence the league presented was shaky at best. Audio recordings of Williams giving pre-game speeches where he talked about hitting players hard, which, let's be honest, every defensive coordinator does. Financial records that didn't clearly prove a pay-for-injury system, and testimony from players who later recanted or claimed they were pressured. Some people believe Bountygate was real and that the Saints were running a dirty program that needed to be stopped. Others think the NFL needed a scapegoat to show they were serious about player safety, especially with the concussion lawsuits piling up. The Saints were the perfect target. A recent Super Bowl winner with a charismatic coach and a defense that hit hard. The league could crack down on them and send a message to the entire NFL without punishing a franchise people felt sorry for. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Were Saints players incentivized to play aggressive? Almost definitely. Was it a formal pay-for-injury system? Maybe not. But the NFL used Bountygate to reshape how the league approached player safety, introducing stricter rules on hits, bigger fines, and more oversight. Whether the Saints were truly guilty or just unlucky enough to get caught, the scandal changed football forever. Now, let's talk about something that'll make Patriots haters smile. Spygate. September 2007. The NFL launches an investigation into the New England Patriots after the New York Jets accuse them of videotaping defensive signals from the sideline, a clear violation of league rules. The allegations are true. The Patriots had been filming opponents' hand signals for years, building a database to help decode defensive schemes in real time. Head coach Bill Belichick is fined $500,000, the largest fine ever given to a coach. The team loses a first-round draft pick, and their dynasty is suddenly under a cloud of suspicion. But here's what people really want to know. How much did they cheat, and how much did it help? The NFL destroyed all the evidence, which immediately made people think there was more to the story. Some believe the Patriots were filming walkthroughs before games, giving them a massive competitive advantage. Others think they had someone inside opposing organizations feeding them information. The timing made it worse. The Patriots went 16-0 in the regular season that year, looking completely unstoppable, only to lose in the Super Bowl to the Giants. Critics said it proved the Patriots couldn't win without cheating. Supporters said it proved they were great even when everyone was watching them. Years later, new Spygate scandals emerged. In 2015, the Patriots were accused of filming the Bengals sideline during a game, claiming it was for a documentary. Yeah, right. The NFL investigated, found some violations, but didn't punish them severely, which made everyone think the league was protecting the Patriots because they were good for business. To this day, nobody knows the full extent of what the Patriots did. We know they cheated. We know Belichick pushed the rules as far as he could, but did it actually help them win championships? That's the debate that'll never end. And then there's Deflategate. Oh boy. Here we go. January 2015, AFC Championship game. The Patriots are blowing out the Colts, and at halftime, officials discover that several of the Patriots' footballs are underinflated. The NFL launches an investigation, which concludes that Tom Brady was generally aware that team employees were deliberately deflating footballs to give him a competitive advantage. Brady is suspended for 4 games. The Patriots are fined $1 million and lose 2 draft picks. The entire thing turns into a circus. Here's why it's controversial. First, the science behind the NFL's investigation was questionable at best. Independent scientists pointed out that cold weather and atmospheric conditions could easily account for the pressure drop. The ideal gas law became a trending topic, which is insane. Second, the punishment was absurdly harsh for something that may not have even happened. 4 games for deflated footballs? Players have gotten less for actual violent conduct. Third, and this is the big one, the NFL had no definitive proof Brady did anything. The entire case rested on text messages between equipment guys joking about deflating balls and the phrase, generally aware, which is the legal equivalent of we can't prove it. But we think he knew. Patriots fans believe Deflategate was a witch hunt, the league punishing them for Spygate and for being too successful. The rest of the league thinks Brady got away with cheating for years and finally got caught. The truth? Deflategate probably didn't matter. Even if Brady liked his footballs slightly softer, it didn't give him that much of an advantage. The Patriots blew out the Colts. It wasn't even close. And Brady came back from his suspension and won another Super Bowl, proving he didn't need deflated balls to dominate. But the scandal tainted his legacy, at least in the eyes of his haters, and it gave people ammunition to question everything the Patriots accomplished. Now let's talk about one of the most bizarre myths in NFL history. Did Bo Jackson really run a 4.12 40-yard dash? Bo Jackson is a legend. A two-sport star who dominated both football and baseball. A physical freak who looked like he was created in a lab. Stories about Bo's athleticism have reached mythical status. He ran up walls. He broke bats over his knee. He ran over linebackers like they were traffic cones. And according to legend, he ran the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL history, a ridiculous 4.12 seconds at the 1986 NFL Combine. Except, there's a problem. There's no official record of it. The NFL didn't electronically time the 40-yard dash at the Combine until the early 1990s. Before that, scouts used handheld stopwatches, which are notoriously unreliable. So where did the 4.12 myth come from? Some say it was a hand-timed run during a workout, and the scout rounding down got a little too excited. Others think Bo ran something closer to 4.2 or 4.3, which is still insanely fast. But the number got exaggerated over time. And then there are the true believers who swear Bo actually did run a 4.12. And the NFL covered it up because it was so unbelievable. After all, The official fastest 40 time ever recorded is 4.222 by John Ross in 2017. If Bo ran 4.12, he wasn't just faster than everyone else. He was from another planet. The truth is, we'll never know for sure. Bo Jackson was an incredible athlete, one of the greatest ever, but the 4.12 time is almost certainly a myth. It's become part of Bo's legend, though, and at this point, it doesn't even matter if it's true. Bo's legacy is secure. Speaking of player myths, let's talk about Barry Sanders. Did he quit because he was blackballed? July 1999. Barry Sanders, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, suddenly announces his retirement at age 30, still in his prime. He's coming off a 1,491-yard season and is just 1,457 yards shy of breaking Walter Payton's all-time rushing record. And he just walks away. No warning, no explanation, just done. Lions fans were devastated. The football world was shocked, and immediately rumors started flying. Why would Barry leave when he was so close to the record? Was it really because he was tired of losing on the Lions? Or was something else going on? One theory is that Sanders was frustrated with the Lions organization, which had wasted his entire career with terrible coaching, bad drafts, and no real attempt to build a winner around him. Barry carried the team for a decade, and they rewarded him with one playoff win. So he walked. Fair enough. But others believe the league pushed him out. That his running style, which involved a lot of cutbacks and hesitation, didn't fit the NFL's new emphasis on power running and north-south backs. Some even think the league didn't want Sanders breaking Peyton's record because Peyton was seen as a more marketable, polished star. It sounds crazy, but the timing was suspicious. Sanders was healthy, productive, and motivated. Why quit? Years later, Sanders admitted he just didn't love football anymore. He was tired of losing, tired of the grind, and ready to move on. But Lions fans still wonder what could have been if Barry had played just 2 more seasons. Would he have broken the record? Would he have finally gotten a ring? We'll never know. And while we're talking about players who mysteriously disappeared, we have to discuss Colin Kaepernick. In 2016, Kaepernick knelt during the national anthem to protest police brutality and systemic racism. The gesture was subtle, respectful, and powerful. It also destroyed his career. After the 2016 season, Kaepernick opted out of his contract with the 49ers, expecting to sign with another team. That never happened. For 3 years, Kaepernick remained unsigned despite being a better quarterback than half the backups in the league. Teams claimed he wasn't good enough. Others said he was a distraction, but everyone knew the truth. He was being blackballed. The NFL settled a collusion grievance with Kaepernick in 2019, reportedly paying him between $60 and $80 million, which is basically an admission of guilt. But by then, his playing career was over. The league had made an example of him, showing players that if you speak out on social issues, you'll pay the price. Some fans support Kaepernick and believe he was wronged. Others think he brought it on himself by making football political. The debate rages on, but one thing is undeniable. Colin Kaepernick was good enough to play in the NFL, and he never got another chance because he dared to take a stand. Now, let's talk about something that sounds too crazy to be true, but probably is. Did the NFL push the Rams to LA for the stadium deal? In 2016, the St. Louis Rams relocated to Los Angeles, leaving behind a passionate fan base and a city that had supported the team for over 2 decades. The reason? Money. Stan Kroenke, the Rams owner, wanted to build a massive stadium complex in Inglewood, and St. Louis couldn't compete with the financial package LA offered. But here's where it gets shady. The NFL had been trying to get back into the LA market for years. It's the second largest media market in the country, and the league was losing money by not having a team there. So when Kroenke proposed moving the Rams, the NFL didn't just approve it, they helped orchestrate it. Multiple reports suggest the league pushed Kroenke to move, even though the Rams had a viable stadium proposal in St. Louis. Other owners wanted a piece of the LA market, and the league saw an opportunity to build a state-of-the-art stadium that could host Super Bowls, concerts, and major events. The Rams were the sacrificial lamb. St. Louis fans were betrayed, but the NFL got what it wanted. A shiny new stadium in Hollywood and a team that would eventually win a Super Bowl, cementing LA as a football town again. Was it a conspiracy? Maybe. But it's hard to ignore how perfectly everything worked out for the league. Let's shift to something that'll make older fans nod their heads. Did Roger Goodell destroy Spygate evidence to protect the Patriots? When the Spygate scandal broke in 2007, the NFL confiscated all the videotapes the Patriots had collected. And then, within days, Goodell ordered them destroyed. Gone. Erased. No record of what was on those tapes or how extensive the Patriots' cheating really was. Why? Goodell claimed it was to prevent the information from leaking and causing further damage to the league's reputation. But that explanation doesn't hold up. If the Patriots' cheating was limited to what the NFL admitted, why destroy the evidence? What were they hiding? Some believe the tape showed the Patriots had been cheating for years, possibly going back to their first Super Bowl run in 2001. Others think the tapes implicated other teams, and the league didn't want to open that can of worms. The most cynical theory is that Goodell destroyed the evidence to protect Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner and one of the most powerful men in the NFL. Kraft had been instrumental in negotiating TV deals and labor agreements, and Goodell didn't want to jeopardize that relationship. Whatever the reason, the destruction of the Spygate tapes remains one of the most suspicious decisions in NFL history. We'll never know the full truth, which is exactly what the league wanted. Now, here's a fun one. Does the NFL favor big market teams? If you're a fan of a small market franchise like Jacksonville, Buffalo, or Cincinnati, you've probably wondered why your team never gets primetime games, never gets the benefit of questionable calls, and never seems to get the same respect as teams like the Cowboys, Giants, or Packers. Is it a conspiracy, or is it just business? The truth is probably both. The NFL is a business, and big market teams generate more revenue, more viewers, and more buzz. So yeah, the league absolutely favors them when it comes to scheduling, marketing, and media coverage. But does that extend to the refs? That's harder to prove. Fans love to point to specific calls that went against their small market team and in favor of a big market team. And there are plenty of examples. The Saints' no call in the 2019 NFC Championship benefited the Rams, who were moving into a billion-dollar stadium. The Lions getting screwed by refs is practically a yearly tradition. The Bills somehow always seem to get the short end of the stick in big moments. Is it intentional? Probably not. Refs are human and they make mistakes. But there's no denying that the NFL benefits when big market teams succeed, and subconscious bias is a real thing. So while there's no smoking gun proving the league rigs games for big markets, it's hard to shake the feeling that some teams get more help than others. Here's one that'll blow your mind. Did the Immaculate Reception actually hit the ground? December 23rd, 1972. Steelers versus Raiders in the playoffs. Pittsburgh is down 7-6 with 22 seconds left, facing 4th and 10. Terry Bradshaw drops back, scrambles, and heaves a desperation pass toward Frenchie Fuqua. The ball never reaches him. Raiders safety Jack Tatum collides with Fuqua, and the ball ricochets backward. Out of nowhere, rookie Franco Harris scoops it up inches from the turf and sprints 60 yards for the game-winning touchdown. The stadium erupts. The Raiders protest, and the debate begins. Did the ball hit the ground? Did it bounce off Tatum or Fuqua? Under the rules at the time, if the ball touched two offensive players, it was illegal. The refs huddled for several minutes, then ruled it a touchdown. To this day, nobody knows for sure what happened. Slow-motion replays are inconclusive. Some angles make it look like the ball hit the ground. Others suggest Harris caught it cleanly. Tatum swore till the day he died that the ball bounced off the turf. Fuqua has never given a straight answer about whether he touched it. And Harris? He's just happy to be a legend. The Immaculate Reception is one of the most famous plays in NFL history, and it might have been illegal. But because there was no definitive replay, the call stood, and the Steelers went on to build a dynasty. If that play gets overturned, does Pittsburgh ever become the Steelers we know today? Probably not. Let's talk about something that sounds like a joke, but is a legitimate debate. Is the overtime rule unfair? For years, NFL overtime was sudden death. First team to score wins, game over. In 2010, the league changed it so that if the first team to possess the ball scores a field goal, the other team gets a chance. But if the first team scores a touchdown, the game ends immediately. Sounds fair, right? Except it's not. Winning the coin toss gives a team a massive advantage. They get the ball first, and if they have a good offense, they can march down and score a touchdown without the other team ever touching the ball. It happened in the 2021 AFC Divisional Playoff when the Chiefs beat the Bills in overtime. Josh Allen never got a chance to respond. Kansas City won the toss. Mahomes drove down, scored, game over. Bills fans were furious. The rest of the league questioned why the NFL hadn't adopted college football's overtime rules, which give both teams equal possessions. The NFL finally changed the rule in 2022, but only for playoff games. In the regular season, the old rule still applies. Why? Nobody knows. The league claims it's to prevent games from going too long, but that's a weak excuse. The real reason is probably that the NFL is stubborn and doesn't like admitting its rules are flawed. Overtime in the NFL remains one of the most debated topics in football. And until they give both teams a fair shot, the controversy will continue. Now, let's talk about something that'll make Seahawks fans cringe. Should they have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch? Super Bowl 49. Seahawks trailing the Patriots 28-24 with 26 seconds left. Seattle has the ball on the 1-yard line, second and goal. They have Marshawn Lynch, one of the best power runners in the league, a guy who lives for these moments. The entire world knows what's about to happen. Beast Mode is getting the ball, and he's going to bulldoze his way into the end zone. Except that's not what happens. Pete Carroll calls a pass play. Russell Wilson throws a slant to Ricardo Lockett. Malcolm Butler jumps the route. Interception. Game over. Patriots win. The decision was so baffling that it's still analyzed a decade later. Why didn't they give it to Lynch? Carroll later explained that they had one timeout left and wanted to preserve it in case they didn't score, giving them multiple chances. The pass play was supposed to be safe, a quick slant that's either a touchdown or an incompletion, stopping the clock. But Butler made the play of his life, and Seattle's decision became the worst play call in Super Bowl history. Or was it? Some argue that the play call was fine, and Wilson just made a bad throw. Others say Butler simply made an incredible read. But most people believe the Seahawks overthought it and cost themselves a championship. Lynch should have gotten the ball. End of story. Here's another one that NFL fans argue about constantly. Is Patrick Mahomes already better than Tom Brady? It's the ultimate debate. Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings, 3 MVPs, and a 23-year career that rewrote the record books. He's the greatest winner in NFL history, and it's not even close. Mahomes, on the other hand, is already a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and 3-time league MVP, and he's only in his late 20s. His stats are absurd. His play style is revolutionary. And if he stays healthy, he could end up with more championships than Brady. So who's better? Brady supporters point to longevity, sustained excellence, and winning in multiple eras with different teams. Mahomes supporters point to peak performance, degree of difficulty, and the fact that Patrick is doing things at 29 that Brady never did. The debate comes down to what you value more: total career accomplishments or pound-for-pound greatness. There's no right answer, which is why this argument will rage on for decades. What we can say for sure is that we're watching the torch get passed in real time, and it's been absolutely electric. But wait, let's talk about something that changed the league forever. Did the NFL intentionally change rules to help offense and fantasy football? If you've been watching football for more than a decade, you've noticed something. The game is way higher scoring now. Quarterbacks are throwing for 5,000 yards. Receivers are putting up video game numbers. And defenses can barely breathe on a quarterback without getting flagged. Is this evolution or is it manipulation? The NFL realized in the mid 2000s that offense sells. Fans love touchdowns, big plays in fantasy football. Defense, as great as it can be, doesn't generate the same excitement for casual viewers. So the league systematically made it easier to score. They expanded the definition of roughing the passer, making it nearly impossible to hit a quarterback cleanly. They made defensive holding and pass interference more likely to be called, giving offenses automatic first downs. They eliminated the ability for defensive backs to be physical with receivers beyond 5 yards. And they moved kickoffs up, reducing returns and starting offenses in better field position. Every change benefited offense. Some say it's made the game better, more exciting, more accessible to new fans. Others say it's ruined the purity of football, turning it into a flag-happy, offense-driven circus. The truth is, the NFL knew what it was doing. Fantasy football is a billion-dollar industry. High-scoring games get better ratings, and quarterbacks are the faces of the league. So yeah, the rules were changed intentionally to boost scoring, and it worked. Whether that's good or bad depends on what kind of football you prefer. Here's one that'll make Patriots fans defensive. Did the Tuck rule save Tom Brady's career, or was he already great? We already talked about the Tuck rule game, but let's dig deeper. If that call doesn't happen, the Raiders win. The Patriots are eliminated. Brady goes into the offseason as a backup who got lucky for half a season. Does he ever become Tom Brady, the legend? Or does he fade into obscurity as a guy who had one decent run? Some argue that Brady was always going to be great because of his work ethic, football IQ, and competitive drive. Others say the Tuck rule gave him the confidence and opportunity he needed, and without it, the Patriots would have moved on from him. The reality is probably somewhere in between. Brady had talent, but he also needed luck. The Tuck rule was luck. Drew Bledsoe getting injured was luck. Landing with Bill Belichick was luck. But once Brady got those opportunities, he made the most of them. Would he have succeeded without the Tuck rule? Maybe, but we'll never know for sure, which is why the debate continues. One thing's certain though, the Tuck rule didn't just save one game, it potentially saved the greatest career in NFL history. Now let's talk about something that's way darker. What did the NFL really know about CTE? For decades, the NFL denied any connection between football and long-term brain damage. League-funded studies claimed there was no evidence linking concussions to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a degenerative brain disease that causes memory loss, depression, and violent behavior. But players were dying. Junior Seau, Dave Duerson, Mike Webster. They all suffered from CTE, and they all took their own lives. Families demanded answers. Scientists conducted independent research, and the truth came out. Football causes brain damage. Period. The NFL fought it for as long as they could. They discredited researchers, buried studies, and used their influence to suppress information. It took a congressional hearing in 2009 to finally force the league to acknowledge the problem. Even then, they downplayed it, claiming more research was needed. It wasn't until the 2015 movie Concussion starring Will Smith brought the issue to mainstream attention that the NFL truly changed course. They updated concussion protocols, banned certain types of hits, and created a fund to compensate players suffering from brain injuries. But here's the thing, the NFL knew. Internal documents later revealed that league officials were aware of the risks as early as the 1990s. They chose profits over player safety, and people died because of it. To this day, the NFL hasn't fully reckoned with its role in the CTE crisis. They've made changes, sure, but they've never truly apologized or admitted wrongdoing. And players are still getting hurt. The game is safer now, but it's not safe. Every hit carries risk, and every player knows it. The CTE scandal is the darkest chapter in NFL history, and it's one that still haunts the league. Let's shift to something a little lighter but still controversial. Did Jerry Jones force Jimmy Johnson out of jealousy? In the early 1990s, the Dallas Cowboys were a dynasty. They won back-to-back Super Bowls in 1992 and 1993, and they had the talent to win more. The architect of that dynasty was head coach Jimmy Johnson, a brilliant football mind who rebuilt the Cowboys from a 1-15 disaster into a powerhouse. But after the 1993 season, Johnson was gone. He and owner Jerry Jones couldn't get along, and their relationship imploded. The official story was mutual parting of ways. The real story? Jones was jealous. Jimmy Johnson was getting all the credit for the Cowboys' success. He was on magazine covers, doing interviews, being hailed as a genius. And Jerry Jones, who had bought the team and made the bold move to hire Johnson, felt like he wasn't getting enough recognition. So Jones started making comments about how any coach could win with the Cowboys' talent. Johnson fired back, saying any owner could own the team and still win. The tension boiled over, and Johnson left. Jones replaced him with Barry Switzer, who won a Super Bowl in 1995 with Johnson's roster. But the Cowboys were never the same. The dynasty crumbled, and Dallas hasn't won a championship since. Was it jealousy? Absolutely. Jones wanted to be the face of the Cowboys, and Johnson's success threatened that. So Jones chose his ego over winning, and it cost the Cowboys potentially multiple championships. To this day, Jones is still the face of the franchise, still making headlines, and still without a title in nearly 30 years. Jimmy Johnson, meanwhile, is in the Hall of Fame, respected as one of the greatest coaches ever. History has spoken. Here's one that'll make you think. Are tackles really business decisions now? If you've watched football recently, you've probably noticed something. Defenders sometimes hesitate before making a tackle, especially on big running backs or physical receivers. They'll go low instead of wrapping up, or they'll pull up entirely, letting the ball carrier gain extra yards. Why? Because hitting someone hard can get you fined, suspended, or worse, injured. It's become a calculated risk. Is it worth destroying your body for one tackle? For some defenders, the answer is no. This phenomenon is called a business decision, and it's become more common as the NFL has cracked down on dangerous hits. Defenders can't lead with their helmet. They can't hit a defenseless player. They can't go too high or too low on a quarterback. The rules have made it nearly impossible to tackle without risking a penalty. So some players have adapted by playing safer, protecting their bodies and their paychecks. Critics say it's made the game softer, that defenders aren't as tough as they used to be. Supporters say it's smart, that players are protecting their long-term health in a league that doesn't care about them. Either way, the business decision tackle is real, and it's changing how defense is played. Now let's talk about something that'll make you question everything. Has tanking become normalized? Tanking, the practice of intentionally losing games to secure a higher draft pick, used to be taboo. Teams would never admit to it, and fans would riot if they suspected it. But in recent years, tanking has become an accepted strategy. The phrase "trust the process" became famous because of the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers. But NFL teams have adopted the same mentality. Lose now, build through the draft, win later. The problem is, it doesn't always work. The Jacksonville Jaguars have had multiple top 5 picks over the last decade and have been terrible almost the entire time. The Cleveland Browns tanked for years, stockpiling picks, and didn't turn it around until recently. The Miami Dolphins went 5-11 in 2019, blatantly tanking for Tua Tagovailoa, and it took years before they became competitive. Tanking works if you draft well, but most teams don't. They just stay bad. And in the meantime, fans suffer. They're paying to watch their team lose on purpose, which is insulting. The NFL has tried to discourage tanking by adjusting the draft lottery odds and giving teams strength of schedule tiebreakers, but it hasn't stopped. As long as high draft picks are valuable, teams will find ways to lose. The question is, should they? Here's another juicy one. Did Robert Kraft have too much influence over Roger Goodell? Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, is one of the most powerful men in the NFL. He was instrumental in negotiating the league's TV deals, brokering labor peace during the 2011 lockout, and shaping the modern NFL. He's also close personal friends with Commissioner Roger Goodell. So when the Patriots were caught cheating in Spygate, and then again in Deflategate, people wondered, was Goodell protecting Kraft? The evidence is suspicious. In Spygate, Goodell destroyed the evidence within days, preventing anyone from seeing the full extent of the Patriots' cheating. In Deflategate, despite a lack of concrete evidence, Goodell suspended Tom Brady, but many believe it was a show to prove he wasn't biased toward the Patriots. The punishment was harsh enough to look legitimate, but vague enough to leave doubt. And through it all, Kraft remained one of Goodell's biggest supporters, even when other owners wanted the commissioner fired. Was Kraft pulling strings behind the scenes? It's impossible to prove, but the relationship between the two has always raised eyebrows. Kraft is powerful, Goodell is indebted to him, and the Patriots benefited from that dynamic for years. Let's talk about something that's been debated for decades. Was the 1985 Bears defense the greatest ever, or did they just get lucky? The 1985 Chicago Bears went 15-1 in the regular season and obliterated opponents in the playoffs, allowing just 10 points total. Their defense was legendary. The 46 defense, designed by Buddy Ryan, was aggressive, unpredictable, and overwhelming. They had Hall of Famers like Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, Dan Hampton, and they made opposing offenses look helpless. In Super Bowl 20, they destroyed the Patriots 46-10, and it wasn't even that close. They're widely considered the greatest defense in NFL history. But were they? Or did they just play in a weak era? Critics point out that the 1985 NFL wasn't as talented as later years. Offenses were simpler, quarterbacks weren't as good, and the rules favored defenses. The Bears also had an easy schedule, playing in a weak NFC Central Division. When they did face tough opponents, like the Miami Dolphins, they lost. So maybe the '85 Bears weren't as dominant as the legend suggests. Maybe they were just a very good team that peaked at the right time. Supporters will tell you that's nonsense, that the Bears would dominate in any era, that their speed, aggression, and scheme were ahead of their time. The debate will never be settled because we can't pit the '85 Bears against modern offenses, but the legend endures, and maybe that's all that matters. Here's one that's way more recent. Did the NFL change rules specifically to protect certain quarterbacks? If you watch games closely, you've probably noticed something. Some quarterbacks get more roughing the passer calls than others. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. They seem to get flags for hits that other quarterbacks take without a whistle. Is it bias, or is it just that refs are more cautious with star players? The NFL has denied favoritism, claiming that all quarterbacks are protected equally under the rules. But fans aren't buying it. There's even a term for it, the Brady Rule, which was created after Brady tore his ACL in 2008 when a defender hit him low. The league immediately banned low hits on quarterbacks in the pocket. Then there's the Rodgers Rule, created after Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone when Anthony Barr drove him into the ground. The NFL banned defenders from landing with their full body weight on quarterbacks. Both rules were named after star players who got hurt, and both changed how defenders could play. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's hard to ignore that the league's most marketable players seem to get extra protection. Role players and backup quarterbacks don't get the same treatment. They take hits that would draw flags for stars, and nobody blinks. The NFL will never admit it. But there's definitely a tier system when it comes to quarterback protection. Now here's something that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but is probably true. Did the NFL script storylines to boost ratings? The NFL is a business, and businesses care about one thing: money. The best way to make money is to create compelling storylines that keep fans invested. So, has the league ever nudged things in a certain direction? Probably. Not in the sense of rigging games, but in the sense of scheduling, marketing, and maybe, just maybe, encouraging certain outcomes. Think about it. The Saints won the Super Bowl after Katrina. The Patriots dominated after 9/11, giving America a team to rally around. The Giants beat the undefeated Patriots, creating one of the greatest upsets ever. These feel like movie scripts, and maybe that's not an accident. The NFL controls scheduling, which games get primetime slots, which storylines get pushed by broadcasters. They have influence over officials through performance reviews and assignments. They can fine and suspend players, swaying the competitive balance. Do they outright rig games? Probably not. But do they create conditions that favor certain outcomes? It's hard to say they don't. The NFL is entertainment first, sports second, and in entertainment, storylines matter. So yeah, the league probably scripts things to some degree, and honestly, that's what makes it so compelling. Here's a fun one. Was Randy Moss's "I play when I want to play" comment taken out of context? In 2005, Randy Moss, then with the Oakland Raiders, made a comment that haunted him for years. After a loss, he told reporters, "I play when I want to play." It became a symbol of everything people hated about Moss. He was talented but lazy, a diva who didn't care about winning. But if you watch the full interview, the context is different. Moss was explaining that he was frustrated with the Raiders' losing culture, that he couldn't get motivated to give 100% every play when the team was dysfunctional. He wasn't saying he dogged it. He was saying it's hard to stay motivated on a bad team. But the quote was clipped, replayed endlessly, and used to destroy Moss's reputation. He was traded to the Patriots the next year and immediately put up one of the greatest seasons ever for a receiver, catching 23 touchdowns. It proved that Moss wasn't lazy. He just needed the right situation. The lesson? Media narratives aren't always fair, and one quote can define a career, even if it's taken out of context. Let's talk about something that'll make Colts fans angry. Did Peyton Manning really have HGH sent to his house? In 2015, an Al Jazeera report alleged that Peyton Manning had human growth hormone shipped to his house in 2011 while he was recovering from neck surgery. The report was based on undercover recordings of a pharmacist who claimed Manning's wife had received multiple shipments. Manning furiously denied the allegations, calling them complete trash and threatening to sue. The NFL investigated and found no evidence of wrongdoing. Al Jazeera later retracted parts of the report, but the question remains: was Manning using HGH? Here's what we know. HGH is banned by the NFL, but is often prescribed by doctors to aid recovery from serious injuries. Manning had multiple neck surgeries and missed an entire season. It's not crazy to think he used every legal and illegal means to get back on the field. But there's no proof. The pharmacist recanted his story, claiming he made it up to impress the undercover reporter. The NFL cleared Manning. Case closed, right? Not for everyone. Some fans believe Manning got away with it because of his squeaky clean image and his influence in the league. Others think the whole thing was a hit job designed to tarnish his legacy. We'll probably never know the truth, but the allegations still linger. Here's one that's been debated forever. Did the Immaculate Reception hit the ground? We talked about this earlier, but let's go deeper. The play has been analyzed frame by frame for over 50 years, and there's still no consensus. Some camera angles show the ball appearing to touch the turf before Franco Harris scoops it up. Others show Harris catching it cleanly. The problem is that 1972 video quality was terrible, and there weren't multiple camera angles like today. The refs had to make a judgment call based on what they saw in real time, and they ruled it a touchdown. Raiders fans have spent 5 decades arguing the call was wrong. Steelers fans insist it was clean. The NFL has never officially revisited the play, but privately, some officials have admitted they're not sure the call was correct. The truth is, we'll never know. The Immaculate Reception is one of those moments where the legend has become bigger than the facts. It's a perfect example of how sports mythology works. The story is more important than the accuracy. Now, let's talk about something that's way more recent and way more disturbing. The Deshaun Watson situation. In 2021, more than 20 women filed civil lawsuits against Deshaun Watson, accusing him of sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions. The allegations were serious, detailed, and credible. Watson denied everything, claiming the encounters were consensual. Two grand juries declined to indict him on criminal charges, but the civil cases moved forward. The NFL investigated and suspended Watson for 11 games. Then, in one of the most shocking moves in recent memory, the Cleveland Browns traded for Watson and gave him a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. The backlash was immediate. How could the Browns reward a player facing such serious allegations? How could the NFL allow it? Watson settled 23 of the 24 civil cases, which many saw as an admission of guilt, though he continued to deny wrongdoing. The entire situation raised uncomfortable questions about the NFL's priorities. Is winning more important than morality? Do teams care about allegations as long as the player is talented? The Browns bet their future on Watson, and so far, it's backfired. He's been injured, inconsistent, and the cloud of allegations hasn't gone away. The Watson saga is a stain on the NFL, and it's not over yet. Here's something that'll make Broncos fans smile and Seahawks fans cringe. Was the Super Bowl KLV a blowout rigged? In 2013, the Seattle Seahawks demolished the Denver Broncos 43-8 in one of the most lopsided Super Bowls ever. Peyton Manning, the NFL's golden boy, was supposed to cap off his record-breaking season with a championship. Instead, he threw 2 interceptions, couldn't get anything going, and looked completely lost. The Seahawks' Legion of Boom destroyed him. But some people think it wasn't just great defense. They think the game was rigged. The conspiracy theory goes like this. The NFL wanted to crown a new dynasty and retire Manning as a legend who came up short. Seattle was the perfect team to do it. Young, hungry, and representing a growing market. The league couldn't have Manning win another title because it would make Brady's legacy less impressive. So they let Seattle dominate, and Manning took the fall. It sounds crazy, but the game was so one-sided that people looked for explanations. Manning was too good to play that badly, right? In reality, Seattle's defense was just that dominant. They would have beaten anyone that day. But conspiracy theories thrive on shocking outcomes, and Super Bowl V8 was shocking. Let's talk about something that's uncomfortable but necessary. Did the NFL cover up the Ray Rice video? In February 2014, Ray Rice was arrested for assaulting his then-fiancée Janae Palmer in an Atlantic City casino elevator. TMZ released security footage showing Rice dragging Palmer's unconscious body out of the elevator. The NFL suspended Rice for just 2 games, a laughably light punishment that sparked outrage. Commissioner Roger Goodell claimed the league hadn't seen the full video of what happened inside the elevator. Then, in September, TMZ released the inside footage. It showed Rice punching Palmer in the face, knocking her out cold. The public was horrified. The Ravens cut Rice immediately. The NFL suspended him indefinitely. But here's the problem. Multiple reports suggested the NFL had access to the inside video months earlier and chose to ignore it. Law enforcement sources claimed they sent the video to the league office. The NFL denied it, but the timeline didn't add up. Why would the league suspend Rice for just 2 games if they knew what happened? Either they didn't care, or they were lying about not seeing the video. Both options are damning. The Rice scandal forced the NFL to overhaul its domestic violence policy, but it also exposed the league's willingness to look the other way when convenient. Goodell's credibility took a massive hit, and trust in the NFL's integrity was shaken. Here's one that's purely football. Was the Philly special the greatest play call in Super Bowl history? Super Bowl LE2. Eagles versus Patriots. Philadelphia is the underdog, and nobody thinks they can beat Brady and Belichick. With 38 seconds left in the first half, the Eagles face 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. Most teams kick a field goal. Doug Pederson doesn't. He calls a trick play. Quarterback Nick Foles motions out wide. Running back Corey Clement takes the snap and pitches it to tight end Trey Burton, who throws a touchdown pass to Foles. The entire stadium erupts. It's one of the gutsiest calls ever, and it works perfectly. The Philly special became an instant legend, not just because it was a trick play, but because of what it represented. The Eagles weren't playing it safe. They were attacking, taking risks, and showing they weren't afraid of the Patriots. That mentality carried them to a 41-33 victory and the franchise's first Super Bowl. Was it the greatest call ever? It's certainly up there. The audacity, the execution, the moment. Everything aligned perfectly, and it gave Philadelphia a championship they'll never forget. Now let's wrap this up with one of the biggest debates of all time. Who's the greatest running back ever? Is it Jim Brown, who dominated in the 1950s and 60s with a combination of power and speed that nobody had seen before? Is it Walter Payton, who set records and played with unmatched toughness? Is it Barry Sanders, who made defenders look foolish with his cutbacks and agility? Is it Emmitt Smith, the all-time leading rusher who won 3 Super Bowls? Or is it someone else entirely? The debate has no right answer because every era is different. Jim Brown played when the game was slower and defenses were less sophisticated. Peyton played in a more physical era where running backs took a beating. Sanders played on terrible teams and still put up ridiculous numbers. Smith had the best offensive line in football and benefited from that. Each has a case, and fans will argue forever about who was truly the greatest. What we can say is that running backs used to be the centerpiece of NFL offenses, and now they're not. The position has been devalued, and that's changed the league forever. But the legends remain, and their greatness is undeniable. So there you have it. Decades of myths, rumors, and stories that NFL fans still can't agree on. Some are conspiracy theories, some are legitimate questions, and some will never be answered. But that's what makes football so compelling. The debates, the controversies, the moments that make you question everything you think you know. The NFL is more than just a game. It's a cultural phenomenon, a source of endless discussion, and a reminder that sometimes the truth is whatever we choose to believe. And with new controversies popping up every season, this conversation is far from over. There are dozens more myths still out there, waiting to be debated, dissected, and argued about for years to come.